Hi, I'm Sarah Christine, and I'm your host for this Action Canada series on public policy. Action Canada est un programme pour les leaders émergents qui s'intéressent aux politiques publiques. Ces leaders viennent de partout au pays, de tous les horizons, et ils travaillent dans toutes sortes de différents emplois. Ce qu'ils ont en commun, c'est qu'ils souhaitent contribuer au pays et le faire en passant par les politiques publiques. In this video, we're going to figure out how to determine whether a public policy is good or not. Before we hear from fellows, here are some questions you can ask yourself when you're trying to figure this out. Does the policy solve a real problem? Good policy should address a specific issue that affects people's lives. Is it based on evidence? Good policy relies on facts and data, not just opinions. Is it fair and inclusive? It should consider everyone it impacts, aiming for fairness and equal opportunity. Is it sustainable? Policies that last and adapt to future challenges help society over time. Écoutons maintenant les fellows d'Action Canada qui vont nous dire comment ils déterminent si une politique publique est bonne ou non.
Policy has some kind of purpose, right? Policymakers, government officials, our politicians, they want to see some kind of change. And good public policy means that that change has happened.
Good policy makes good things happen and minimizes the bad things. An example of that would be in Alberta, we're having a hard time getting doctors in small communities. So it'd be great if we could make it attractive for them, but maybe not have to pay twice as much for healthcare.
Is this policy actually solving or addressing the problems that were identified in the first place? And I think based on the community, based on who is a part of that community, there may be different markers of success, right? It may mean that the health and well-being of a community has thrived. It may mean that there are higher graduation numbers. It may mean that students are attending school more regularly. And so I think those measures differ depending on the policy and really assessing is the policy addressing the problems that it was intended to solve in the first place.
What is the cost of fixing the problem? I think that's a big one. And who's going to pay for whatever the policy is. I think at the end of the day, you want to really make sure that nobody is left worse off and that you're really trying to improve the lives of people and tackle the problem at hand.
A good policy, there's a couple ways you can measure it. There's things like, did you reach your goal? What were you trying to do? There's also, were there unintended consequences? Another good metric is just, did the people who are impacted, are they happy with how it worked? Did they see good things happen?
Je prends l'exemple de l'écosystème d'une famille. À la maison, la politique publique serait un peu comme les règles que les parents établissent. Fait que si la politique publique est bonne, ça veut dire en établissant les règles, les parents ont pris en compte leurs propres intérêts, si c'est des parents, mais également l'intérêt des enfants et peut-être des grands-parents aussi s'ils habitent autour. Donc c'est vraiment de prendre tout le monde autour de la table et c'est là qu'on s'assure que la politique publique est bonne.
Je crois que la meilleure façon d'évaluer une bonne politique publique, c'est de parler avec les gens qui sont affectés par la politique. Donc, si c'est une politique qui est axée sur les jeunes, c'est d'aller parler avec les jeunes et de voir comment eux bénéficient des impacts de cette politique. Est-ce que ça leur apporte du positif, etc.
The tricky thing about assessing policy for whether it's good or not is that we all have bias, we all have preferences, and what works for an individual might actually not work for other people. So assessing a good policy is looking at what general society, so beyond the people that we know and interact with every day, and looking at what works for others and is it benefiting their lives? Is it contributing to and enabling them to live the best life they can? Or is that policy making life more difficult?
It can be very challenging also to ensure that everything is just 100%. I think everyone will have different responses and reactions to public policy.
When I think about good policy in my life specifically, in particular in my life, I look at the education policy coming out of Member 2 First Nation. That policy is about accessing funding for tuition, books, travel to school, registered band members at Member 2 pursuing post-secondary education. They try to be fair to everyone. They try not to discriminate. Member 2 does a good job of removing personal bias when it comes to applying to post-secondary funding. The system is double-blind, and what that means is the people who are assessing the application don't know who the applicant is, as well as the applicant doesn't know who's approving them.
Ultimately, good policies balance solving problems effectively while considering factors like cost, fairness, and how to make it work. Not everyone has to like it, but it should definitely do more good than harm. Je vous invite à réfléchir aux politiques publiques qui vous touchent en considérant ces facteurs.